ever guess that you ever need it. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Halloween weekend. Welcome to episode number 119 of Sports Cards Live. It is Saturday night, October the 30th, 2021. My name is Jeremy Lee. I do want to thank last Saturday's guests. We had Adam Gray and Eric Myers joining us. And I want to also let you all know that tomorrow night on Collectible Live, my guest will be Buster Scher, founder of Hoops Nation. We go live on the Collectible YouTube channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Next Saturday on Sports Cards Live, I'll be joined by Dale Nowakowski, Amit Acharya, and Steve Menzie. We are going to be talking about the upcoming Expo and the Vancouver show the week after. Those are the Dale promotes the Vancouver show, Steve promotes the Toronto Expo, and Amit is my regular co-host for pre-Expo previews. All right, I want to shout out my friends at the Big Three Hockey. Check them out on Instagram. These guys showcase great singles on the platform. I also want to, of course, again, shout out the Sport Card Expo in Toronto, November 11th to 14th. I'm going to be there. I hope you're there. Can't wait to see you all there. Come say hello. It's going to be a blast. And then the weekend after, November 19th to 21st, is the Vancouver Area Card Show. Both of those dates and websites are on the ticker right now. Check them out and come out if you can. I want to thank channel supporter Whatnot, 1 Minute Auctions, Buy It Now shows, hosted around the clock by some of the best breakers in the hobby. They also have other collectibles, Pokemon, Funkos, MetaZoo, comics, and more. And I want to shout out all of you podcast listeners. You know I appreciate you. You are you come in big numbers, so thank you very much. And everyone who has already subscribed to Sports Cards Live, I thank you. If you are not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Really appreciate that. As always, everybody, tonight, your comments, your questions are in play. So let's get to tonight's guest. He sits at the helm of the card company that changed everything back in 1989. He started working at Upper Deck in 2006, became the president in 2013 upon the founder, the Richard McWilliams, passing. And he is a fan of all Detroit teams, the Red Wings, the Pistons, the Tigers, and the Lions. His favorite athlete is Will Clark, originally from Muskegon, Michigan, currently hailing from San Diego, California. Let's bring him out. Jason Masherah, welcome to Sports Cards Live. How you doing tonight?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. It's my pleasure to have you, Jason. So first things first, we were just chatting before we went live, and you mentioned to me that your favorite athlete is Will Clark. I said, I never understood. I remember Will Clark. He was a stud back in the late 80s, early 90s. He gets no hobby love. What's up with that?
You know, I haven't tried to buy any of his stuff, you know, in the recent past, but I tell you, there's a lot of Will Clark collectors out there. It gets pretty competitive bidding on stuff over the years. So I think there's a silent fan base that avidly collects. They just aren't real vocal. And of course, Clark stuff doesn't get the headline news, right, on prices. So that you know, kind of keeps him in the background a bit.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, back in the day, he was a chase card, a player that people were collecting with up there with the Griffeys and the Frank Thomases and Cal Ripken Juniors. And now, you know, crickets for what I'm seeing, but it's nice to hear that there is a group of people collecting him, and you're among them. So that's good stuff. So, okay, well, let's get into a little bit about yourself before we hit all the hot topics that you know. I've got a ton of questions for you. I'm sure we're going to get some from the chat, but let's talk a bit about your history. So tell us a little bit about your hobby history. How long have you been in the hobby, and some of your experiences along the way?
Yeah, so you know, I got my first set from my godparents in 1986. It was 86 Topps baseball, was a Christmas present, and that kind of got the ball rolling. From there, I started setting up at shows in 91. I started working in a card and comic book shop in 93. I started my own shop in 95 and ran that for a couple years. And, you know, I quickly realized at the time, like, I wasn't going to be able to run a shop full time and go get my degree at university. So I ended up shutting it down and going to school. And, during that time, I took a little detour off the hobby path for a while and spent a lot of time on Beckett buy, sell, trade and flipping through SCD and doing transactions that way. And, years later, after, spending some time in electrical distribution of all things, I decided I wanted to go get my MBA and get back into sports and entertainment stuff. So I went to Indiana University, got my grad degree, and took every opportunity and every job that I possibly could. And I actually ended up interning for the Cincinnati Bengals. I interned for the Chicago Rush Arena football team. I did a consulting gig for the Atlanta Braves. Did a case study on the Houston Texans. And when everything was said and done at grad school, there was this brand manager position at Upper Deck. And I thought, well, I know trading cards and I've got a couple marketing degrees. It probably makes sense to take a look at this, and been here ever since.
So how did you go about, seeing that job opening to actually securing the job? Like, what was that like?
Well, I think like a lot of people experienced, I sent my resume in through the job portal online probably 3 or 4 times and never heard anything. And ironically, when I was at the Arena football team, Upper Deck was the exclusive trading card partner for the Arena Football League. And we had a family, I don't know what to call it, maybe a festival before every game where different vendors would set up and they would do free face painting and signs and balloons for all the kids and stuff. And I thought, why aren't there trading cards here? So I reached out to Upper Deck. I found a guy in marketing, guy by the name of Benjamin Wu, and said, hey, can you at least tell me who the shops are in the area? Maybe we can get them to set up at the pregame festival. And he was the one, when the job opening came up, I said, hey, can you get my resume to whoever the hiring manager is for the position? And that was what finally got me an interview here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it through the online submission portal.
Well, at least you got it one way or another, for sure, right? For sure. Now, in our discussions earlier, you had a card shop yourself. What were... Tell the story about that kind of made me laugh when you told it to me the other day.
Yeah, so when I had the shop, one of the things that I did was I applied with all the card companies at the time to become direct. So I had direct accounts with Fleer and I had direct accounts with Collector's Edge, but I actually got rejected by Upper Deck as a direct account, which is kind of funny in hindsight now.
Yeah, you only have yourself to be mad at now. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, before we get into some more topics, let's say hello to the audience, the crowd. Good evening, everybody. Studio Sports, Steve, appreciate that. Glad to have you. Troy, good evening and welcome. Bobby Baseball, great to see you. We got Frank as always. Good evening, Frank. What's up, Facebook user? Daniel A, great to see you. Skeppy says I owe him 3 cans of Pringles. We'll see. We'll see about that. Daniel Busby, good evening. We have there's Mike from Eastridge. Jeff Hart, good evening. Frank lets us know that the Wings lost to Toronto tonight and the Pistons beat Orlando. So you're 1-1. I better mention, everybody, my team, the Flames, who just went 5-0 on a road trip, are playing like the puck is dropping right away. So if somebody doesn't mind keeping me posted on the score in the chat, I would appreciate that. This Facebook user, I'm guessing this is Carvin, because I know he's famous for saying what up, what up. So if that's you, Carv, good evening. We got Eric with us. Hello, Eric. Ian Undercover. Jeff McMahon. Joe in the house. Good evening, Joe. Great to see you. He says, Will the Thrill, Giants favorite. He wants to know, Jason, were you a Giants fan?
I was a Tigers fan, but I was such a big Will Clark fan. That was like my second adopted team. And I was big on that team. They had Robbie Thompson playing second, Kevin Mitchell, Matt Williams. I mean, it was a pretty impressive team. And unfortunately, they never won a series.
Yeah, fair. Steve Sir says, Upper Deck collector from the beginning. I've got every year's Upper Deck hockey from 1991 through 2021. You could say I'm a decent customer. Yeah, that's loyalty right there, Steve.
That's awesome.
Steven, we got Steve Foley in the house in Florida. Good evening, Pedro, Adam, Toa. Good to see you, buddy. Terry Fortune says, interesting story from a card store owner becoming president of Upper Deck. Yeah, definitely is. Purple Haze, how's it going? And Carvin confirms it is, in fact, Carvin. And we got Les Edwards in the house tonight. Hey, Les, great to see you. Les has some killer Upper Deck cards in his collection. I can tell you that for sure. So, let's dive right in. I'm going to start with something. I think this is going to be a fun question. I want to know, what are a couple of things you're most proud of Upper Deck and a couple of things you're least proud of at Upper Deck? So start with the most proud of.
Well, I think for me, especially when I took over, Upper Deck was in a pretty rough spot. There were a lot of rumors floating around, and our founder passed away. And, I've spent a lot of time kind of rebuilding the company culture and getting us pointed in the right direction. And I'm really proud of where we're at now as a company. From customer service and the job that Chris Carlin and his team do there, to the product development team, all the way through. I'm really happy with where the company's at. We got a lot of work to do still, but I'm really happy considering where we once were.
And so the flip side of that, is there anything that you can kind of put your finger on that that you'd like to see improve, or that you maybe are just less proud of?
Well, I unfortunately, as the employees here know, I'm never truly happy. I think we can always be better at a lot of things. Every product I open, there's one or two things that, I think we can improve in. The nice part is the team already sees it before I even get to it. So they're always looking to improve. Our vendors have been borderline horrific over the pandemic. We've had a lot of QC issues, time issues, things of that nature. We're spending a lot of time trying to work through all those type of vendor issues right now. So I think that's probably our biggest issue right now.
On that, I have a feeling that, people who watch this show regularly, by now they should know that Upper Deck and the other card companies don't print their own cards. Right. But I don't know that that's the general understanding by the greater hobby.
Right.
Can you just sort of speak a little bit to how that arrangement, really impacts your workflow?
Yeah, I think, it's hard. In some ways, it's really good because our team can focus on, the mechanics of a product, the rarities, the inserts, the designs, but we don't control the actual production. And I think what's hard during the pack out, and I'm sure other guests from our company and other companies have talked about it, typically we do on-site pack out checks on a lot of these to make sure that they are, hitting the quality standards that we typically do. During the pandemic, for the most part, we weren't allowed inside these factories for safety precautions. And I think what we've seen is a result of no Upper Deck staff being on hand. We've had some issues along the way, and it is tough not having that direct control over the actual production.
Yeah. How involved are you, or have you been over the years, in terms of innovation, new concepts? Is there a concept that's yours, that's your baby, anything like that?
Well, I can take credit for quite a few things. I think the big thing was when I came to Upper Deck, I really felt as a collector, things had gotten pretty stagnant. I didn't see a lot of card innovation. I had missed the era of, the jersey card, the autograph card, the cut signature cards, the RPAs, kind of all that stuff got introduced. So, there was a period of time where there wasn't a lot of new card technology and things of that nature. And, I really pushed the team to start coming up with new innovations, and some of them work, some of them don't. From the shadow box cards, we did, signature slot cards, we did video cards. We've come up with a lot of different kind of technologies. Grant's bug cards and his insect cards and Goodwin came under my tenure. There's a lot of, I would say, innovation during that time that, I've really pushed the team and continue to push the team to look for new things. Again, I think the hard part during the pandemic is it's hard to push the manufacturers for innovation when, you're just kind of locked out of everything.
Yeah. What's your, I collect lots of rare inserts and parallels and that kind of stuff. That's what I love. And I know what my favorites are. What's your personal favorite sort of insert set that has come out over the past 10 or so years?
Oh, over the last 10 or so years.
Or 15.
I'm unfortunately a bit of a bandwagoner. I would say a lot of the Fleer inserts from the 90s are kind of my thing. I like the autographic sets from back in the day. I really like the precious metal gems and the jambalayas. For me, I go back to a lot of the stuff I collected growing up. The Pro Bowl cards out of the I think it's 92 Upper Deck football sets. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff when I look back through some of the stuff that I really got excited about. And that's why you see kind of a resurgence towards some of that retro stuff. I think probably one of my all-time favorite sets is EX 2000 in that design. And I know at least there's one person internally who keeps lobbying to finally come out with that design in hockey at some point.
Good, because I'm trying to apply as much pressure as I can from my chair as well in that direction. So good to hear. What do you say then to collectors and hobbyists who declare that Upper Deck has become stagnant without any competition in this single license era?
Well, I just don't see it. I think our product development team is very competitive internally. They're always trying to fight each other to come up with the next best thing. They're always critiquing each other on the products. And I think they do a good job of keeping legacy brands kind of year over year fresh. And I think what's tough is you are, as a card manufacturer, you're in this balance where people like consistency. They like brand consistency. They want to collect the same brands year over year, but you need to keep them fresh. And it's a constant juggling of changing it enough to keep it fresh, but not changing it so much that it ticks everybody off. And I think that, to me, is more of the balancing act that I think is hard for people to understand. Because if you drastically overhaul a set, people say, well, my favorite inserts are gone, or my favorite subsets are gone, or things of that nature. So it's tough, but I don't see the stagnation. And I think the other thing that I think maybe people don't realize is that the team spends a lot of time watching breaks, watching people's reactions to products, going through threads, going through forums, going through social media, and getting reaction to all the products they build, and making adjustments where they can. There's nobody on this team that takes a day off or is real stagnant on anything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in that. I guess people like to say sometimes that there's no innovation, but every year I'm seeing new concepts come out, and then I start to wonder to myself, how many different iterations are there to cover up? We're talking 8.25 square inches per card.
Right.
How many different iterations of design are there? Yet all the card companies continue to come out with new designs and oftentimes new concepts for cards. So I think that we are seeing innovation year over year, and I kind of am impressed that we see as much as we do. We're going to say hello to a few more people in the crowd, then we're going to go through some pain point topics. How does that sound?
That's fine.
All right, we'll do that. So Steve V8 from Cole Harbor, good evening. Good to see you. Carvin has moved to YouTube, so we know it's him now. Thanks, Carv. Pastime, good evening to you. Pedro's in the house, says, are you licensed to print USA Olympic cards?
No, I believe Panini holds that license.
There you go. Steve Sir, his daughter and him love the Goodwin non-sport cards. Fire, good evening to you. Steve Sir says, congrats on the big deal with NHL, by the way, and we are obviously going to get into that. And what does Joe say? Not the most expensive for me, but the 99 NBA Upper Deck game used jersey issue is a game changer, so classic and so emblematic of the evolution of the game used. Thanks, Upper Deck. Now, that's before your time, but it's an interesting point that Joe makes, and it's simply because, the jersey card, those first early sets are definitely very desirable and highly pursued. But now a jersey card, it's not as interesting and as rare as before. So this is going to go in a direction I wasn't planning to go into, but Joe's question has me asking you this. What does Upper Deck do, or how much on your radar is it to not water down a specific insert set or concept to the point where it becomes the next jersey card? Yeah,
we spend a lot of time talking philosophically about that kind of issue basically. And, that's why you don't see, 15 chrome products from us. That's why you don't see all kinds of metal products from us. We really take a lot of time to try to separate every brand, give every brand kind of a specific character to it and a specific reason to use it. I would say at times maybe we don't kind of get all the way there when a concept's really good. But like if you take a brand like Black Diamond, for example, that's the one place where you find diamond cards. Like we don't put that in every single brand and kind of run that down, right? So if you look throughout the products, shadow boxes are found in SPX. So if you really look, we really take a lot of care to, if we find a good concept, to really keep it unique to a particular brand and give people a reason to come back to that brand every year and not kind of flood the market. Jersey cards are tough. And look, I think to the Grant and Grant's team, it's funny, we see all this attention being played to great designed inserts that aren't featuring autographs and game used jerseys. Grant was the first, team to focus on that back. We started kind of shifting away from autographs and game used jerseys 2011, 2012, 2013. So we were actually the leader in trying to come up with cool themed inserts and different just technology cards. So, I think they do a really good job of being careful not to run concepts into the ground.
Okay, good to hear. I'm a big fan of the technology cards, like the essential credentials and all those, die cut acetate on cardboard or vice versa. That really gets me interested in the cards themselves. Speaking about the culture, Skeppy has this question. Can you give us a snapshot of the culture at Upper Deck and ways that you continue to improve it?
So that's a great question. The culture here is that it's very dynamic. It's very fast moving. Every employee has a chance to wear multiple hats and basically take on as much responsibility as they can handle. We don't have a culture where you have a very defined role and you only do that role. Some people need that as an employee. You need a very defined role. That's not the way Upper Deck moves. For us, we move very quickly. We move very fast. We wear a lot of hats. We do a lot of things. There was a period of time, I would say right before the pandemic, where I went out and worked in the warehouse for 5 days, slinging pallets and boxes. That's just the way we do things. But we try to have as much fun as we can. We try to encourage people to communicate, which is always hard, to come up with new innovations and new ideas. But it's fast, and it is, I would say, an adrenaline rush. And to that point, I would say there are a ton of openings at Upper Deck right now. If people are looking for a career change, the one hang up is
Jason, this isn't Indeed, all right?
the one hang up is that you got to move to San Diego.
Right, there you go. Good. Is Indeed in the US?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure that I didn't go over the US viewers' heads there. Okay, good stuff. Okay, let's talk about some of these pain points. So the first one I want to touch on, and you did sort of touch on it already, but quality control. When I think of quality control issues, I see people complaining about it. Doesn't matter if it's Upper Deck or Panini or Topps or whomever, but you hear about collation, you hear about centering, you hear about crimping. How these, I believe these are issues that are coming from the third-party vendors. And, how does Upper Deck, how do you feel? How does that impact you? What do you try to do about it when these things sort of tend to happen more than once, or I don't want to say over and over and over again, but they happen over again? How do you, what levers can you pull on to make that go away?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit frustrating for everybody because the same issues we saw opening packs in the 80s are the same issues that exist now, right? Cards get crimped in the foil. You get chipping, you get creases, you get missing cards. One of the things I remember owning a card shop is sometimes you get a pack, if the pack was supposed to have 10 cards, you get one pack that has 20 cards, and then you have another pack that has 0 or 2. all those issues still exist, and large part of it has to do with the automation and the technology that goes into it. Look, the team, every product release, the team like sits around kind of nervous that something wrong is going to go at the factory level. And I think with the production run, you can actually go do production checks and everything be working well, and then all of a sudden one of the mechanical pieces on the line jams, and you have an issue where you're missing autographs out of a box, or you're missing case hit inserts, and there's just no way to prevent all the issues. What you can do is minimize them so that they're not every box or every case that you get of product. It's frustrating, and I tell you, collation is probably the biggest issue that the team kind of frets on, because look, I think we all know as collectors that have opened up product for a long time, you're going to have damages, right? That's just the nature of the beast, especially autograph cards where the athletes are handling them and they're being shipped all over the world. But collation is one that absolutely drives us nuts. And you can have 6 products in a row that are great, and then you have one that's just an absolute train wreck. Right. And it is just so disheartening for the team here that puts so much time into building that collation schedule, and to see it come out wrong out of the factory is it's really heartbreaking. And I don't know that everybody realize how defeating that is for the team when they see that stuff, but we feel it. And I think, especially with the team that we have here, it's emotional. These guys, these products are their babies. When the product isn't delivering the way it was built, these guys take it really hard.
Yeah, I believe it firsthand, actually. So it's never fun to see that. What's the relationship like with the third-party printing vendors that you guys use?
Well, I think it's really good. I think, again, through the pandemic, it's not as strong or close as it typically was. But, these guys are facing the same supply chain issues that other industries are facing. And unfortunately, because we're also passionate about this industry, it's maybe a little more frustrating than delays that we're all seeing in other industries, because we want our cards and we want them now, and we want them right? So I think there are shortages on paper, there are shortages on glue, there's shortages on foil wrap. There are issues all over the place. And in fact, it's one of the things I'm most frustrated right now. We're going to have products that are probably somewhere between 12 and 18 months late because of all these different issues. And it's embarrassing, and it's hard to explain to people, but the manufacturers are like, the printers say, what do you want us to do? Like, there's nothing we can do. If we don't have glue, can't make cards. If we don't have foil wrap, we can't pack stuff out. So, it's a tough situation right now, and I anticipate this is going to go on probably for the next 15 months or so.
Are there no other options out there for additional third-party vendors? Have you guys really exhausted the supply chain?
Like you wouldn't believe. We've hit everybody we possibly can, and there's a lot of issues out there right now.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Totally change in direction here, but we're going to address this one question from the chat. Jim wants to know, does Michael Jordan own part of Upper Deck?
No, that is not true. And that rumor is, I think, a 30-year rumor now. So
there we go. You just put it to rest. Michael Jordan does not have any equity in Upper Deck.
No,
he does not. Okay. I want to go down to Andrew Mark's comments. As MJ has a long relationship with Upper Deck. So he's speculating maybe shares plus % of sales plus retainer plus bonus fees plus signings fees. GOAT marketing. Is this just people making stuff up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. There we go. That has been laid to rest, everybody. Michael Jordan does not own any bit of Upper Deck. It's simply an agreement, a contract you have with him as a spokesperson for autographs, that type of thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, nice to lay that one to rest. Pastime says Jason spends a lot of time everywhere he goes. He took time to visit my shops while in town. Very nice to know that you're making the rounds and meeting the customers and the shop owners. Definitely.
Yeah, Jeremy, what I'll tell you on that is I've become a little bit infamous. I do a ton of shop visits, and I don't typically tell the shops I'm coming. I like to kind of drop in anonymously and unannounced. And I'll be honest, like there's times where I don't even tell if the shop owner doesn't recognize me, I don't tell them who I am. Because I want to see what the shops are kind of like in the natural environment. And I want to see how I'm treated as a customer. So I have a lot of fun with that. And I have basically since the day I started at Upper Deck.
Yeah, that I would probably do the same thing. So this Facebook user whose name I don't see right now. So I don't know. I think we've addressed this, but what about SPA and the Cup hockey being so late? Anything you want to say about? And I know that you guys don't talk about the Cup until you talk about the Cup. So maybe you're going to go against the rule here. I don't know, but can you just speak to those two brands that obviously have a ton of equity and people look forward to every year?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that's typically at the last half of our calendar for a hockey year is way off course. So you won't expect to see probably any of that stuff till after the first of the year, which again is really disappointing, but it's definitely caught up at the print end for sure. So there's it's not just those two. There's several of them that are kind of caught up. The ones that everybody's used to coming out at the back half of the calendar.
So that's a good sort, I guess, segue into some actual canceled products. For the first time that I can really remember, you guys have had to cancel some brands that have been around for a long time. I mean, Trilogy's been around since 05, 06. Ice has been around since what, 02, 03, 01, 02, something like that. And you guys recently announced that these two products for the 2021 season are canceled. Why? I mean, is it simple supply chain, just like we've been talking about?
Yeah, there are, especially in those two products, there are materials there that are problematic right now for the manufacturing side of it. So, instead of just kind of continuing to hang out, especially with the number of late releases we had to make some sacrifices. And I think what I think is important for the collectors, and I know is important for our team, is to figure out how to maintain continuity. And they're working through that. I believe there's going to be some announcements pretty soon on how they're going to do that. So if you remember, there were a couple brands when we went down to a shared license with the NHL that we put in as inserts into other products to keep kind of the legacy of those products alive on a yearly basis. I don't have the specifics that I'll let the team kind of announce, but there is a focus on making sure the continuity of those brands continue and there isn't a miss year along the way.
Oh, that's really good news. Because I was going to ask you, how will that omission impact that brand's equity in the event that they come back? So from what I'm hearing, the intention is that they will come back, and not only that, but that there will be some continuity even for this void, this year of the void.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well that's kind of good. That's good news, I think, for sure. Okay, a couple more comments here. Steve Sir says undercover boss. LO, yeah, sort of, but not really. And then I don't know if anyone, Troy noticed about a minute ago I was snickering. He says, I also don't let the LCS know when I'm dropping in. Well, why would you? Okay, it's not like you're making reservations like you do for a restaurant. Joe Perot says, in the same way that Panini does unlicensed baseball, has there been any consideration of Upper Deck doing unlicensed basketball, or is that even possible?
Well, I think the tricky part there is we have a memorabilia license with the NBA. So I don't think they would take very kindly to us scrubbing their jerseys and putting out basketball cards. We have to respect them as a licensor, and they're a great partner on the memorabilia side.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for that. Thanks for the question, Joe. Steve VH says, can you give an idea of what the average player might make for signing autographs for Upper Deck? I realize the bigger stars and legends have quite the contracts.
I mean, it really is all over the board. Signing rates can be, $1 all the way up to, $1,000 an autograph, and the number they sign, it varies on every signing that they do. So there really is no kind of average per se, because it's a mess. The number of autograph signings we do is huge.
Are you willing? Can you give a range? Let me ask you this, Jason, is any player making $3 an auto? Is the minimum 10, like anything like that you can share?
I mean, it really is like all over the board. I would say, as low as $1, depending on, and again, we do all kinds of sports. We do all kinds of entertainment products. You rarely see anything lower than $1, and it goes up pretty high depending on who the actor or athlete is. So it is all over the board.
Okay. Michael Ham just pops in and says, why have we not seen Michael Jordan autos in products? And is that accurate? I feel like there are Michael Jordan autos coming out in some of the multi-sports and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, typically Goodwin has them every year. And off the top of my head, I don't know if there's other products that feature MJ autos. I would anticipate you're going to see them in Metal Universe Champions when that comes out as well.
Okay, good. I'm very excited about that project, and we'll talk about Jean McLeod and Arena Designs and all that shortly. Troy reminds everybody to hit the like button and help me out. I appreciate that, Troy. Thank you very much. Oh, and Greg jumps in with the same thing. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much, Greg. Much appreciated, pal. Let's move on to the next hot topic, pain point I'm calling. That is redemptions. So there's two things. First of all, I want to scroll back up in my comments here to Darcy had a comment a little bit earlier. He says right here, I had a question. When redemptions are outdated and are sent out possibly for replacements, how old do the cards go back in the inventory? So if I have a redemption that's expired and Upper Deck's going to honor it, but send me a redemption replacement, like how far back do redemption replacements go? And if you're even in the know on this, Jason, that's fine.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. They're not really well tracked. There's a bunch of stuff sitting there throughout the years, and they just kind of go and grab whatever is handy at any given time. I don't think there's any great organizational system, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, as long as there's hey, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to run it, but I mean, I think we as the collectors, the hobby, we want to have some confidence that number one, if we send in an expired redemption or we're going to get a replacement, that that there's going to be sufficient inventory to satisfy that need. I won't say contract because of what's been going on with Panini lately, but actually let's talk about that. So there's this issue, this lawsuit that was just brought up against Panini. And I just was, reading some of Paul Lesko's tweets about it, saying that, Panini has stated that because they don't have a contract with the collector, there's no real legal claim on redemptions. The Better Business Bureau of North Texas has said that they've received 237 complaints against Panini. What is Upper Deck's position on that whole redemption kind of issue that's really coming to light here in the media in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to comment on anybody else's lawsuit or their issues. What I like to focus on is Upper Deck. And I mean, if you look at our Better Business Bureau ranking, we rank as an A. Our team does a great job helping customers and making sure they're taken care of. Redemptions stink. And, for us, we've tried to proactively replace guys that haven't signed or are an issue. Our team has proactively tried to reach out to people and say, hey, this guy's a deadbeat. Like, he's not going to sign his autograph, or the cards got lost. And a lot of times they get lost by FedEx or in shipment. Sometimes the athlete loses them. We try, if we can, to proactively reach out to the consumer and say, hey, we've got an issue with this. Like, let's get a replacement going for you. So, I mean, the team takes a lot of pride in handling those issues. So, I think hopefully we don't have all the issues that some of the other companies do. But again, it's hard for me to comment on other people's legal matters or their stance on stuff or how they're performing.
I can a little bit more, and I'll just say that. Well, no, I'm not going to attack anybody, but I'll just say that the response that kind of made its rounds on Instagram and elsewhere was, I believe, the legal response for a legal case, not necessarily their position on how they want to treat their customers. Despite that, it's still not a good look that's what gets out there, and now that's what a lot of the hobby thinks is the position. So
And Jeremy, I'll say with that, most of the lawyers that litigate cases in this industry don't know the industry, don't understand the industry. So, a lot of times what you read is a legal position from somebody who doesn't know trading cards. So that's just the fact of it.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and I think that makes sense. But as they say, perception is was it 9/10 of reality? So if it's the look is just going to be tough to shake for a few weeks at least here. Although the hobby does seem to move forward. Tiger Jordan, by his name, asks a very sort of topical question for him. Says, first of all, thanks for coming on the show, Jason. Can you share approximately how many memorabilia and card items Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan sign annually for Upper Deck?
Yeah, not going to disclose anything from those contracts. I would say it's not a whole lot.
There you go. Not a whole lot. That's something. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Here's another question that Les is wondering if you could comment on another rumor. Wayne Gretzky's contract coming up for renewal soon, and he potentially won't be re-signing.
Yeah, that's a really bad rumor. I would say there's no truth to anything there.
Not to any of it, even the part that it's that is coming up for renewal soon. Okay.
No, I mean we have a 30-year relationship with Wayne. It's not ending anytime soon.
He goes on to ask, Jason, does Upper Deck have any plans to get more Gretzky game used jerseys to put into cards?
The team's always sourcing items. Honestly, I don't know what they have on their hit list or what they have in stock. What I would say is that a large portion of what we've seen in auction through the pandemic has been fake, and including jerseys that went for big money. The nice part is Wayne does verify every game used jersey we purchase and authenticates it for us. So it's interesting.
No, that's cool. Okay, let's go on to print runs. So, some cards have stamped numbering on them. We know exactly how many of them there are. Some don't, like Jambalayas is a good example. We all want to know how many there are. And no matter how many times I try and ask Billy to tell me, he just will not tell me. And it's starting to bother me, but good on you, Billy, for not telling me. Let's talk about Connor McDavid Young Guns, though, Jason, because that's a card that is, very highly pursued in the hobby. It's sort of that commodity card for the player who is, by really the face of the NHL, and I think the darling of the hockey world right now. So I've heard all sorts of speculation about how many Young Guns were printed that year in 1560, and I know it was one of the earlier years of EPAC, if not the first year. I've heard 25,000, I've heard 50,000, and then I've heard every hundreds of thousands up to 500,000. So two questions. Number one, and I know you're not going to answer it, but I'll ask it anyway. How many are there? And number two, why won't you tell us?
Well, one, I have no idea. Typically on ratio cards like that, the team doesn't even keep track of them. So that's just kind of the way it is. And honestly, like the history of the industry is we don't have print runs on most of the cards, right? Like nobody truly knows how many Mickey Mantle rookies are there, how many are sitting out in the harbor that they sunk off the barge, right? And that's part of the fun of the hobby, is that speculation, for better or for worse. Sometimes that speculation gets us into trouble, but not knowing adds something to it. And I've always kind of liked that of not kind of knowing what exactly it is and trying to figure out from what you see popping up on eBay or, I love watching people try to calculate print runs. That's always fun as well. And I think that makes the hobby fun.
I think it does too. And when you use pack odds to kind of, extrapolate the amount of cases and how many of this and that, let me just ask you this, because I know you're not going to tell us and you don't even know, but are people sort of on the right track? Or are they, have you ever seen some of those breakdowns, those calculations? You're like, hey, he didn't nail it, but that guy's on the right track. Like, is anybody on the right track out there in these calculations?
I haven't seen or paid attention to any calculations recently, but I will tell you over the years that I've been here, I've seen some people who are pretty darn close. And honestly, like the question is can we hire those people? Because they're cranking the spreadsheets, and if anybody knows our product team, like they spend a lot of time in spreadsheets. So yeah, I see it quite a bit. And interestingly enough, some people calculate and they make a mistake and they're way off, and some people are pretty close, and it's fun for us to watch.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun for us who don't go to those lengths to build those spreadsheets and do those calculations to have a bit of an idea of how many cards there might be. So you're not going to tell me how many jambalayas this year?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks anyway. See you later. Kidding. Okay. Couple more comments here. Now, I'm going to put them up there, but I have a feeling that this might not be up your alley. But with the amount of heavyweights you have contracts with, are you going to be releasing a Sports Legends patch auto set with Jordan, Gretzky, I'm guessing Tiger Woods, etc.?
Yeah, I don't see anything in the immediate future. I mean, if you really want a kind of a heavyweight product, I don't even know if there's any left out there, but All Time Greats Multisport came out years ago and was a killer product that had a ton of our spokesmen and then some of the best athletes of all time. That's, to me, the place to really dive into that spokesman grouping.
Yeah. Okay, fair. And Andrew Marks wants to know, are you guys still sort of buying cards on the secondary market for buyback products?
Well, I think you got the wrong product there, or the wrong company there. We don't do that typically, unless we do.
Buyback.
Well, we do buyback, but it's not a regular product, right? Like, it's once in a blue moon. And honestly, that product is so tough, the team really doesn't ever want to do it again.
Okay, fair enough. I can only imagine building a checklist where everything's basically a one of one is quite the endeavor. And Ed Seat says, is there a chance that Upper Deck could bring prominent cuts back?
Wow, I didn't expect that question. I mean, that product is in the archives a bit. It's not on the radar. I won't say it won't come back, but it's definitely not on the radar.
Okay. Okay, and the next question that just popped up from Ken at Pastime is exactly what I was just about to go to. We'll throw it up there to show him some love. What event is your team most looking forward to attending again? So I was going to basically ask you. So I was at the National in August here, and I saw big setups by Topps, Panini, Leaf, and others. I didn't see Upper Deck there. Why?
So, I think the one thing that I really, take a lot of care in with Upper Deck is we really view the staff as family. And, look, the family has all kinds of dynamics, but I really care about the staff. And I was not comfortable sending them to the National. And I just didn't feel like we were at a place, and quite frankly, I'm still not feeling like we're at a place where I want to put our employees with thousands of people in an indoor setting and risk them getting COVID. And I'll be honest, I feel really good about that decision for the National. I talked to a high-end collector that I'm very good friends with. He had a private dinner with 14 high-end collectors. 5 of them got COVID. They were all vaccinated. 5 of them got COVID. 1 ended up in the hospital. And I know there's other companies, their staff got COVID. And I just don't feel comfortable putting our staff in a position where they could get sick and potentially die. And that's an issue for me. And I understand that the customers want to see our staff. They want to interact our staff. But my primary focus is keeping everybody safe, because to me, they are family. And I couldn't live with myself if I was to put them at risk and something potentially happened to one of our employees.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really fair answer, definitely. What about the Expo? The Expo's in Toronto coming up here in about a week and a half. I'm going to go there. Is Upper Deck going to have a presence there?
We'll have a presence, but I am not planning on having any of our employees there. And, it's 2 things. One, what I just told you, like, I'm just not comfortable having our team out there yet. Number 2, we didn't know if the border was going to be fully open or not. And when we plan for events, they have to be planned pretty far ahead of time. So, we made the decision a while ago that, hey, we're going to have a presence. We'll support the show. We love the Expo. It's probably our most important show every year, but we're going to support it from a distance. And we may have 1 or 2 people that really want to go that we end up going. But I'm not planning on having the typical Upper Deck staff that we usually have staff that show.
Will you have like the area there? Have you been? You must have been there.
Yeah, I've been to the Expo. Yeah.
And so you obviously know how the setup is there. It's pretty big. It's spectacular. Is there going to be that sort of presence just with temp like hired out workers, or or is it going to be different?
Honestly, I don't know what the plans are. I don't get involved with the planning for that show, so I can't really speak to what the setup's going to be.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the Spring Expo will be coming hopefully the first weekend of May. Would you say, and I know COVID just seems to come in waves and waves, but
right.
If we don't see a next wave or what have you, can we sort of look forward to seeing Upper Deck staff at the Spring Expo in May?
Yeah, what I'm trying to balance with right now, Jeremy, is at what point we get back to normal from running a company, right? And I think that's where we're at. Right now we're hoping that after the first of the year that we can start kind of traveling and doing things as normal. But quite frankly, our protocols here with regard to COVID are pretty strict. So if I have a team that travels, when they come back, they can't come into the office for a prolonged period of time, which causes issues in that respect too. So, for us, I think it's day by day, month by month. My hope is that after the first of the year, we'll go back to supporting events the way we typically do. But again, it's too hard to tell right now. We just don't know where this thing is going. I mean, hopefully we continue to trend down and this thing becomes a minor nuisance at some point. But I'm a little concerned where we're going to go into the holidays over the next couple months.
Yeah, and then where things come a couple weeks after that, right? So, yeah, I hear you. Definitely some uncertainty there. Okay, so we've had people come and go all the time. If you just got here, everybody, welcome to Sports Cards Live Night. This is Jason Masherah joining me. He is the president of Upper Deck. If you don't know that yet, that's who he is. And so lots to talk about. We're going to get into the renewal of the NHL and NHLPA license right away here in a few minutes, actually. If you are new to the show, to Sports Cards Live, welcome, and please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate that. Interviews just about every Saturday night. A couple questions here from the chat, Jason. Chris Carter, this is an interesting question because the packaging is cardboard. It's easy to put in the recycle bin, but one thing I've noticed, and it's our whole industry, it's the whole hobby, is that some packaging is pretty extravagant to the point where is it necessary? But I do understand the importance of the opening of the product to feel like you're actually, even when you open up a cell phone, a new Apple phone, all these things, right? It's a process. Can you speak a little bit to, are there any sort of intentions to become more green as a hobby and reduce the amount of waste?
Yeah, I think the boxes are definitely, standard cardboard. They should be, for the most part, compostable, recyclable. The issue to me is the foil wrappers, quite frankly. And we've looked at some alternatives. We're looking at paper wraps. I think we can get there. The paper is a little bit more expensive than the foil. The issue, I think, for us as a company is foil wraps are synonymous with our brand, right? That's what we came out with. That was the innovation back in '89. So, it's a tough balance, but we are looking at all those things. I will say, as an industry, we definitely are far from the most environmentally friendly industry when it comes to packaging. The cards, I don't worry about as much because for the most part, people keep the cards, they're keepsakes. But the packaging, we can definitely do a better job on for sure.
Yeah. And it's not only the card companies, it's the supplies that we burn through. We burn through top loaders and one touches and all that too. So, okay. And Pedro, this is an interesting question. Just speaking about the relationship with ComC in regards to the supplying uncirculated cards to them directly. He says, many thanks for that relationship. Is there anything you can tell us about your arrangement with ComC and I guess the whole EPAC partnership?
Yeah, for us, EPAC is another distribution channel for us. And yeah, we provide cards to them that they scan in for EPAC. So, the way we view our distribution paths is we have mass retail. So your Walmarts, your Shoppers Drug, your Target, your London Drug, Canadian Tire, places like that. And then you have your trading card shops. And then the third piece for us is EPAC. And as part of that, we send a bunch of cards to ComC. They scan them front and back, and then people can pull them virtually out of their packs on EPAC.
Yeah. Okay. Hope that answered your question, Pedro. Okay. So here's my, I just want to see this comment that just came in. Here, let's bring this one up. 23 Aaron says, why does UDA continue to price out the average everyday collector? The prices on Michael Jordan items on your website are too high, but Upper Deck Authenticated doesn't sell cheaper unsigned MJ items anymore. Why? Is that something you can speak to?
Well, look, I think there's a lot to digest there. So, it's interesting. We talk about autographed Michael Jordan UDA pieces being high, but in compared to his trading cards, they're not high. Look at the way his rare trading cards are selling, and a lot of the pieces that we sell are limited edition pieces. So what we've actually seen over the last 2 years is that people are flocking to our autographed memorabilia because they're bargains compared to some of their rare trading cards. And they display better, quite frankly. And I can't believe I'm saying that as a trading card collector, but autographed jerseys, autographed 18 by 20s. If you got a spot in your basement or in the back of your Zoom meeting or whatever, like you're going there. And the athletes we have, no, they're not cheap because of the greatest athletes of all time. And I'll tell you, their signature rates aren't going down anytime soon. And the amount they're signing isn't going up anytime soon. So, the stuff is very, very limited. I think the second piece there is very poignant in the fact that, we don't have a lot of unsigned items. I think we have a couple things like Fatheads in our relationship with Fathead, and a couple things. I do think we can do more, but honestly, when I took over Upper Deck Authenticated here at Upper Deck, people weren't buying the unsigned items. They just didn't sell. And that's honestly why we stopped selling a lot of the unsigned items. They only wanted the autographed items.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like the prices of Michael Jordan autographs and other things, we'll say hello to Ken Golden, who's jumped in, and I think he's partially responsible for that, for the value of these cards and the Michael Jordan autographs, and then some. Let's go up to Skeppy's comment here. Do you work with grading companies to help maintain authenticity and provide archival records? And this is an important question for me too, because I'm patch faking is a problem in our hobby, and I've always thought that having photographic archives of these patches would go a long way for the long-term health of the hobby and the values of those cards. So yeah, I'll leave it at that and let you address it.
I think having relationships with both grading companies, authentication companies and or auctions is a dangerous thing for a trading card company. I think one of the things that I've really maintained and looked out for since I've been running Upper Deck is conflicts of interest. And, I think aligning with any of the grading companies is a problem for a trading card company, because the perception, again, we live in a industry where a lot of people are skeptical, and they should be, quite frankly, because there are a lot of things that have caused them to be skeptical. If we get too close to a grading company, then the perception is going to be, they favor that company and they give their cards higher grades. So that's always an issue for us. So we don't have any official relationships with anybody. As far as giving them archival records, that's a delicate balance for us, because a lot of that stuff is proprietary information. And if we give it out to somebody, obviously that opens up the pool of who knows what, and actually opens up the opportunity for people to do more shady things with our cards, because that pool of knowledge has now expanded. So while I think in some cases it may make sense to give them that information to help them authenticate that stuff, it also leads to the possibility that you could end up with more issues. So, I don't have a perfect answer for that. I will tell you, we are working on technology, and I think Mike Phillips had alluded to this before, that will help with that. I think what's ironic and an unappreciated benefit of the EPAC system is all that stuff is scanned, right, front and back. So you have all that information. Now that doesn't help customers who buy the cup and SPA, which is 100%, hobby only, and doesn't appear on EPAC or in mass retail. But, I think we've learned a lot from EPAC, and especially when it comes to the authenticity, because now we have a saved record of every card that's ever appeared on EPAC. And that's going to lead to some things down the road.
Okay, well, okay. As long as I like that it's gonna lead to some things down the road. Darcy wants to know: is there going to be another Canadian Tire set coming out?
We don't have anything on tap. I would love to do another set with Canadian Tire for sure.
Okay.
I will say, I will tease, there is going to be a pretty unique big set after the turn of the year up in Canada.
Got it. That's good to know. I just want to say to Greg Novus, sorry, Greg, I don't understand the question. If you want to repost it, I'll take another look at it. Okay, let's switch gears. Thank you to the chat. You've kept us busy for some time here, but let's talk about what was the big news that just came out that I think took a lot of people by surprise, considering what Fanatics has been up to, what we learned about Fanatics really in August. But the big news is that Upper Deck was able to extend or renew the exclusive contract with the NHL and the NHLPA. I get my two-part question for you, Jason. Was that your doing? And the second part is, like, how proud are you of this? And how important is it?
Well, I think everything here at Upper Deck is a team. I can't take sole credit for anything. The team is responsible for getting that renewal. And that goes to everybody in this company. You know, our company takes great care of hockey. We spend a lot of time communicating with the NHL and NHLPA, and they know it. We are a hockey company to the depths of our souls, and I think that matters. And yeah, I'm really proud that we have a team that is doing such a great job that they would continue to entrust us with that license going forward.
That's good to hear. So, do you know, did Fanatics attempt to secure NHL and PA rights?
I think everybody can assume that Fanatics is trying to get every license on the face of the planet right now.
Okay. And the next question is going to be, now we've already established tonight that Michael Jordan does not own any equity in Upper Deck, to put to rest that longstanding rumor. What about the NHL or the PA? Was equity a part of the deal?
Look, I can't talk to anything regarding our contracts. I know there's a lot of questions about guarantees and royalties and ownership and this and that. I really can't get into it.
Okay, fair enough. So the hobby will continue to speculate.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one will let everybody's kind of rumors run wild.
Let me ask you this then. I might ask you a couple more questions you can't answer, but feel free not to, because I respect the privacy of the legal contract. Are there any changes coming with the renewal? Any new freedoms? Any new restrictions? Any new terms that are going to kick in when that date occurs?
No, you know, I think what you're going to see is consistency, and I think that's what hockey card collectors were most concerned about. Is you won't see big changes coming forward. What you will see is an extension into NFTs. And some work into NFTs to bring officially licensed NHL and NHLPA NFTs to market for the first time. But, you know, you can expect kind of more of the same as far as the brands that we deliver, the number of brands we deliver, the channels of distribution, which I know is really important to everybody. You know, I think it was important for the NHL that we continue to satisfy every level of consumer so that they can buy hockey cards no matter how they collect, right? So whether you want to all you want to buy is Tim Hortons every year, you can continue to go to Tim Hortons and get your hockey cards there. If you want to buy at a trading card shop, you can continue to go and buy at your favorite trading card shop. If you want to buy at Walmart or Target, or Shoppers, you have that opportunity. Or if you want to buy online, you can go do EPAC, you know, and EPAC has been vital for us as a way to reach collectors all over the globe that don't have access to a trading card store. You know, we've sold hockey cards in Yemen, which is something I never thought I'd say. But again, there's no trading card stores in Yemen. The only way for them to buy, you know, hobby type product is through EPAC. And we've reached a number of consumers across the globe. So, you know, I would say we're going to continue to focus and innovate on the products and keep doing the same things that we've been doing.
So this may be redundant, but I would just want to make sure I ask this specifically. In the negotiations or for the renewal, did the NHL itself, like what I'm trying to get at is like, how interested are they in the hobby and us collectors? Like, I know they're interested in their royalty, they're interested in the terms of the deal and being properly represented by Upper Deck, which has done a great job of it for all these years. But is the NHL and or the PA, are they interested in what the collector wants? And do they put any emphasis on things like brand continuity, as an example?
So Jeremy, it's a great question, and I can't wait to answer this. So what has been a pet peeve of mine with all the headlines that have happened over the last 9 months, from IPOs to valuations to license changes, not once have I seen anybody talk about the impact on the collector. Not once, not in the media. Nobody said, hey, this change is good for the collector. This IPO is good for the collector. All it's talked about is the money it's providing for the owners or the leagues or the licensors. And I think that's the biggest difference between the NHL and the NHLPA and what they did here, was that they do a ton of due diligence every time the license comes up. They talk to multiple companies, they talk to shops, they talk to distributors, they talk to end collectors, and they are highly engaged, and they do care about the legacy of the brands and the continuity for the collectors and providing value. More than any licensor I've ever worked with, quite frankly. And I do think that is a big difference here. And I think everybody should know the amount of due diligence that these guys put in as licensors, because I just don't see it anywhere else.
So, okay, appreciate that answer. And it's nice to know. It's nice to know. Now let's go back in time, not that far, just a couple months, to when we were all just dumbstruck by the announcement that Topps lost baseball and Panini's losing football and basketball. What were your thoughts that day, Jason? Like, as the president of Upper Deck Trading Cards, what were your feelings that day? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thoughts is, as a longtime collector, not having Topps baseball cards was never fathomable. I never saw the day. And as an American, and I'm sure there's a lot of Canadians that'll kind of roll their eyes at this, like, Topps is Americana. I mean, it's what we grew up with. It's what our parents grew up with. It's kind of like apple pie. And, you know, whether you have issues with them or not, like, that's what you view as baseball cards. And we hope that our brand has felt the same way with hockey cards. But it was shocking. And quite frankly, in our lifetime, it's probably the biggest news in the trading card industry that we've ever seen. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I believe it is the biggest news ever to come out of our hobby is that Topps can no longer make baseball cards. It's kind of mind-blowing just when you say it out loud. Was one of your thoughts or feelings that they're coming after hockey next? And well, first, was that one of your concerns?
Well, honestly, I think we've been worried about Fanatics coming after the licenses for several years. This was not a new issue for us. You know, they had been dabbling in it. If you go to their website, they're slabbing our cards. They're having athletes sign our cards, which I honestly don't appreciate. There are a lot of signs that they were coming towards our market, so we anticipated it was coming.
And so did you, as soon as you learned this news, did you guys get on the phone with the NHL and the PA and just sort of try to see where things were at and if there had already been damage done? Like, were you concerned that the damage was already done or it was in the process and you'd be too little late to the dance sort of thing?
Well, I think it took a little while for everybody to absorb what was going on. You know, we have ongoing conversations with our licensors on a weekly, if not daily, basis. So, you know, we definitely were on the phone, and we're on the phone with them all the time, and definitely reached out and said, okay, like, you know, we have what we have now. Let's talk about the long range. And I looked at it as an opportunity, quite frankly, to say, hey, let's talk about what a long range plan looks like. We're typically very concerned about what's happening this year, what's maybe happening 2 or 3 years out. Hey, let's talk about the long time horizon. So honestly, I viewed it as an opportunity.
Okay. And when the announcement came out, and there must have been some, you know, just a little bit of fear throughout the company, what did you say to the staff? What did you say to the staff at Upper Deck? between the news coming out and the announcement of your renewal?
Well, it's kind of a circle the wagons moment of, hey, let's go take this as an opportunity to go lock these rights in for a very long time. Typically, these contracts are very short. I think what Fanatics gave us an opportunity to do is to lock in longer than we normally do. So we looked at it as an opportunity. We took advantage of the opportunity and we had fun with it. And quite frankly, we got a chance to be maybe more long-range thinking, long-range planning with our licensors than we typically are, which was nice change of pace.
So does that then mean that that there's a plan now that goes out? Say, I'm just going to use 10 years as an example. You guys have some sort of loose outline for what the next 10 years are going to look like from a product calendar perspective and innovation perspective. Is there any hints you can give as to what that long-term plan looks like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it deals with kind of innovation and expansion. Quite frankly, the NFTs as an expansion off of EPAC and some of the things we're doing, I definitely play a role in that. But yeah, I mean, we've mapped out kind of a long range future. And I think, for us, much like how we kind of tweak our brands year to year, our strategy doesn't drastically change. It just gets augmented and expanded upon, or it evolves here and there. And that's really the way we do things. Like, you don't have to completely reinvent things, but you can continue to improve upon things or expand what you're doing. I can't say like there's going to be a whole bunch more products, because we just don't believe in adding a bunch of products to the calendar for no reason. If you look at what we've done since we've had the exclusive this go around, is we've added a couple products as the market's gotten bigger, but we still have by far the lowest number of overall brands and products out of the 4 sports. And that's purposeful.
Yeah, that's a good thing, I think. So when the deal was renewed and you came out of your Zoom meetings or whatever it was, and sort of started to share the news at the company with all the staff, how did you let everybody know? And was it like celebration time? Was it air of relief time? How did everybody respond at the company?
Yeah, so we held a kind of an all-staff meeting. So we hold regular all-staff meetings here, and quite frankly, the reason I do that is because this industry is so rife with rumors and innuendo that I like to hold all-staff meetings on a regular basis with the staff to keep them up to date, so that they don't get sucked into the rumors and the innuendos. I always tell people, if you don't hear it from me, it's not true. So we held an all-staff meeting on Monday, right before the press release came out to notify them. And, I think for me, unfortunately, I'm terrible. Like, I don't celebrate anything. I am kind of like that consummate athlete that just moves on to the next issue. I don't celebrate, but I think there was probably a sense of relief for a lot of the staff. A lot of the staff was wondering, like, what's going to happen? What's our future? What's the company going to look like in 5 years or 3 years or 2 years? And I think it was good for them to be able to kind of put that behind them. I unfortunately wasn't here in the building at the time, so I can't really speak to how the staff reacted other than what I saw on Zoom. But for me, I think more than anything, again, this is like a family to me, and to make sure that their future is secure and we can continue to push forward and innovate and bring great products to the people was a huge sense of accomplishment for our team.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a sigh of relief for many people as well. Can you just, because I heard a story that you kind of slow played it. You had the news to share with everybody, but you kind of positioned it like, okay, guys, here, tell the story of how you delivered the news.
Well, for us, especially in my time here, especially as my time leading Upper Deck, we've been just hammered by rumors and speculation from, there was a period of time where everybody was telling, and other companies in the industry was telling everybody we were going out of business. There was a period of time where people said that we were going to be bought by Panini. There was a period of time going into the license renewal in 2014 that we were told we were out of hockey. And it was basically the same thing all over again. History kind of repeats itself all over again. like it's rumors, and it's always Upper Deck, at least in my time here, has always been the underdog. We're always the one that's going away or going out of business or being bought. And I wanted, when I spoke to the employees, I wanted to remind them of that. Like, we are and have been since my time here the underdog, and there's always this rumor that, you know, it's inevitable that Upper Deck is either out of a license or is being bought by somebody, and it's always wrong. And yeah, I slow played it a little bit, and I kind of played to that sensibility that, hey, you know, don't listen to everybody. Like, we're fine. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, good. Okay, and I'm again a big relief for everybody, I'm sure. With Fanatics coming in and however they're going to make cards, are you concerned about talent migration from Upper Deck to Fanatics?
Well, I mean, I think you always worry about that a little bit. What I will say is that the people that are here because they love being a part of Upper Deck and being a part of the brand and being part of the family. So I think you have to be conscious of it. Am I really worried about it? I'm not. And I think part of that is nobody really knows what they're doing. I don't care what anybody says. You know, there's a lot of reports, there's a lot of speculation in the chat rooms and things of that nature. Like, they haven't announced anything. Nobody knows what they're doing right now. So it's really hard for an employee to get excited about, you know, jumping to another company when they don't really have an idea of what's going on there. So, you know, we try to take care of our staff as best we can. You can't prevent everybody from leaving. I think there's going to be some talent that goes there. I think probably the other companies are a bit more at risk than we are at this point. Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. I mean, you're really, in my mind, you're one of 4 people who run trading card companies, and 2 of your counterparts at other companies are going through a bit of a different, you know, set of circumstances than you are right now. So, you know, considering that you have some insights into how the president of Topps and the president of Panini might be operating or thinking or managing, what do you feel? What's going on? And I ask you this with some trepidation, but what are they feeling and thinking right now? How are they going to adapt or pivot? What do you think's going on over there, considering that there's a finite end to their licenses right now?
Well, you know, I always joke that I came to Upper Deck at the exact wrong time. So I came here in 2006, and a lot of things went really wrong at Upper Deck shortly after I got to Upper Deck. And what they're going through, honestly, is what I lived through in my early days at Upper Deck when I was just a brand manager. There was license changes galore, right? And there were a lot of issues and lawsuits going on at the time. It wasn't pretty. And I think what you'll see is they will evolve. And they will adapt and change. If you have good staff there, and I have to assume they do, that they will just figure out how to adapt. That's what we did, and everything kind of worked out fine for us. So I think you'll see the same thing with Topps and Panini. You know, they have sharp people. They'll figure out how to adapt with the licenses they have and the landscape that they're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Fair enough. So, do you think Fanatics is going to buy Topps or Panini?
Well, you know, I think it's hard to say. For us, kind of being on the outside looking in, quite frankly, I would love, if one of the companies goes up for sale, I'd love to have a shot at them before Fanatics gets to them. But, you know, there's no indications right now that either one of them's for sale.
Okay. And then the next question is, will Fanatics buy Upper Deck?
That's not going to happen. Upper Deck's not for sale. We haven't been for sale. Again, the rumors have been floating around for probably a decade that we're for sale. We're not for sale. We just aren't. We've not entertained any portion of Upper Deck being for sale over the years, and that's not going to change. Again, you know, we're more in acquisition mode. We don't have any plans to sell Upper Deck.
So I just want to ask why. Like money talks in most cases. Why isn't Upper Deck for sale?
Well, this is a family legacy thing now for our ownership. You know, when Richard passed away, he had young kids, and this is a family legacy thing. And it's about passing it on through the family. And then beyond that, there's a genuine care for the collectors in the hobby. And I think, again, you talk about worries about talent migration, this staff knows it. Like, we care about the hobby. There's been times where we've made decisions that were definitely contrary to the bottom line, to make sure that it was the right thing for the brand, whether it was the right thing for the shops or the collectors. And I think that the nice part about the ownership we have is we're allowed to make those decisions that are in the best interest of the hobby, not for a stock valuation, not for an IPO, not to, try to squeeze out some revenue at the end of a quarter. It's not about that. And it hasn't been since I've been working here. And I think that's a big difference for us as a company.
So thank you for that. So Richard McWilliams was the owner of Upper Deck. Right. He passed away. Now the shares of the company, I believe, are owned by the Richard McWilliam Family Trust. Is that correct? Just the structure?
Well, again, I'm not going to get into the detail of the ownership, but it's owned by the family, yes.
By the family. Okay. So there's a rumor that I've heard, and maybe you can put this one to bed too, that the company couldn't be sold until Richard's oldest child turned 18. You want to?
Again, it's another rumor. It's another speculation. Look, none of that exists. It's not real. And there is no desire. And again, there has not been a single conversation since Richard passed away of this company being sold whatsoever. And again, everything you've heard is false. It's a lie. It's rumor.
Okay, good to know. Last sort of rumorish to ask you about is the Michael Jordan and LeBron James autograph deals. There was a lot of talk, and there still is, I guess, with all the Fanatics news that, it would make sense for them to acquire Upper Deck. Then they acquire the Jordan auto deal, the LeBron auto deal. And all of a sudden, basketball collectors can have Michael Jordan licensed autographed on trading cards again, which is something that I think they highly desire. I'm going to ask you, even though I know you're not going to be able to answer, but, is that contract with Michael Jordan, is it transferable? I've heard that as soon as there's a change of control at Upper Deck, if that happens, that Michael Jordan's contract is null and void, and that's the end of it, and he'd probably be happy not to sign anymore. Is there any insights you can provide on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't get into kind of contractual details. What I will say is that I don't know Panini's contract. I don't know Fanatics contract, but look, if there's going to be licensed LeBron and Michael autographs again, they're going to have to be through UD. Look, I think one of the opportunities, if I want to create some rumor and speculation, is if you look at what Fanatics does and some of their other licenses, they control a lot of licenses, and they actually license some of those categories out. There could be a scenario at some point, and I think it's doubtful because they are creating their own company. There could be a scenario where, they work with Upper Deck, or they license out to Upper Deck a portion of their license, and then you could see that. Do I think that's likely? No, I don't. But could it happen? Yeah, I mean, maybe you could see some Upper Deck and Fleer brands back in basketball.
Well, I think you just got a lot of people very giddy over those comments. So myself somewhat included. I'm going to ask you this now. So, Panini just announced they got the WWE license. Upper Deck recently announced the AEW license. Are you guys going after any more licenses right now?
We're always looking at licenses and evaluating licenses, as they come up. So I would say stay tuned. We are always kind of keeping our eye out, big and small. One of the ones that has done pretty well for us that, we haven't put out a core product yet is the PFL, the Professional Fight League. We're having a lot of fun with those guys. They're good licensing partners, and it seemed like a good opportunity to do something a little bit different. You'll also see some more renewals coming in, and you'll see some new licenses added. But it's hard to expect that anything's going to be as exciting as the NHL, the NHLPA, or quite frankly, AEW. I mean, AEW is absolutely on fire from just an excitement standpoint. That league is fun to watch. I mean, it's, I hadn't watched wrestling in a while before AEW came along. I mean, it's a whole nother animal, and it's pretty exciting to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's cool. Congratulations on that one. So, okay, we're gonna go through some comments. I haven't taken a question from the chat in about 25 minutes, Jason. So we're gonna go through some sort of bounce around type of topics here. And I'm sure as we get to the bottom of the comments, we'll have some more comments or questions about the license deal. So I'm gonna start up here with Greg's question. Now, I don't think you're gonna answer this, but just confirm you can't. He basically wants to know the print run of Clear Cut Young Guns.
Oh, honestly, I have no idea.
Okay. Chris Carter says, what are your plans for AEW cards? Is it a hit-based product, large or small release? He's very excited about it. Can you let us know any of the plans for AEW cards?
Well, the first product out is a base brand UD. You know, we thought it was important to kind of introduce AEW with what people are familiar with from a base UD product. Now, the hard part is it's not going to feel like hockey or any of the other sports we've done over the year because the checklist is relatively smaller. But it will be based on kind of a base level product that's affordable for everybody. Now, you know, by the time it gets to the market and through pre-orders, I don't know how affordable it'll be because honestly, the demand way outstripped what we thought it was going to be. But we are looking at hit-based products. We are looking at technology-based products going forward as kind of the second and third brands. What I can guarantee you is there won't be a ton of products for AEW. You know, one of the mistakes that we've made, we think that others have made with some of these different sports licenses, there's just way too many sets and it gets oversaturated. So we're very conscious of that. We want to protect the AEW brand and the value drivers behind AEW. So you'll only, see a handful of sets per year on AEW.
Okay, well, good stuff, Chris. Hope that satisfied what you were looking to hear. Dexflow, thank you very much for the tip. Says, Jason, Overwatch is my favorite video game. Can you explain how you went about deciding to make Overwatch cards?
So we've got a long-standing relationship with Blizzard that goes back 20 years. We made World of Warcraft cards back when that was the hottest video game on the planet. We saw what they were doing with esports. We kind of ventured into that. Unfortunately, the pandemic completely blew up our cadence and our production. As their players were trapped all over the globe and playing remotely. We couldn't get access to autographs and jerseys from them, and it's completely screwed up our product plans with them. But that's it really is largely based around the relationship we have with Blizzard.
Okay, well, and there you go. Dexflow, thank you again for the contribution. Appreciate that. Okay, Pastime makes the comment that Upper Deck has supported the local card shop more than every other card company combined. And this is Ken, who has, I believe, 4 shops in Western Canada. So he knows what he's talking about for sure. D wants to know, will you eventually put the cup on EPAC?
Well, I'm never going to say never, but there are 0 plans to put the cup on EPAC. Okay,
that's good. And I appreciate your very cautious answer. There's 0 plans, but you never say never. That makes good sense to me. Daniel Busby says, can I ask why it's so hard for LCSs to get cards?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd have to get more detail on that comment because to my knowledge, hockey has not seen the same shortages for LCSs getting product that the other sports have. We try to really balance the production and get enough product out to the shops. And quite frankly, we're the only company that isn't selling some of that high-end product directly to consumers through our website, right? So everything we produce, other than our EPAC allocation, is going to hobby shops, and our key products are only going to hobby shops. And again, I think demand has definitely gone up during the pandemic, but I'm not seeing the same shortages with our products and our sport that I'm seeing with the others.
Yeah, I am seeing or not seeing the same thing. So AJ15 says, is the use of the same photo for multiple products a COVID issue, and will it improve? It's frustrating collecting a rookie card that uses the same exact photo for many different products.
So, I think, again, this is one of those things where the product team spends a lot of time on it. What we did run into some issues with lack of access for photography because of COVID. We also ran into some massive issues for bubble players. So you may be speaking of one of the rookies specifically who was brought into the bubble, placed on a roster but may have never played. So there may be only 1 or 2 photos of that player completely, and then they never actually skated, right? So there were, because of the pandemic, it created some exceptions to some things where guys made the roster but they didn't skate, or they skated one time, and then we had to make a bunch of rookie cards, and we got stuck, unfortunately, repeating a photo. That's not typical for Upper Deck, but it definitely has happened during the pandemic for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good question from Skeppy. Says, what is one way that you think the NHL could continue to gain more interest in the game? And I think it's a good question because, and you'd know this better than most, Jason, hockey has always, I've always felt there's 4 major sports, and hockey has always sort of been the 4th biggest in the US anyway. Obviously it's number 1 in Canada, but in the US you've got basketball, baseball, football. Now you've got soccer. Soccer seems to have kind of taken that 4th position in the hobby away from hockey and pushed hockey down to number 5. So maybe speak to, are you noticing, is your perception the same as mine is on that soccer issue? And then the question that Skeppy asked, like, what should the NHL be doing? And are you working with them to market the game better than they have been?
Well, look, I think part of it's perception, right? And, I grew up in Michigan. I had a card shop. Hockey was my number 2 sport there. And, growing up during the Hockey Town era, like everybody collected hockey. So I think part of it is where you grow up, where you're at, and, what part of the world or the part of the country that you're in. Again, I talk about it here in the US. Yeah, we have 4 major sports. In Canada, there's really only 1, if you're honest about it. There's only 1 sport in Canada, and that's hockey. So, I think it really depends on where you're at. What can they do to gain more interest in the game? I mean, they've made a lot of improvements. They've expanded their television distribution deals. They're pushing internationally. I think they're on the right path on a lot of it. I think what a lot of the leagues can continue to do is, focus on the personalities of the athletes and some of the backstories. And I think hockey spent a lot of time doing that over the last several years, but, getting to know some of these guys a little bit more. I think the hard part is that unlike the other sports, and I would say it's a positive thing, is that the hockey players are typically so humble and so nice, and they aren't as flamboyant and grab all the media headlines for better or for worse than the other sports. And I don't see that changing. It's just not in the hockey DNA. So it's really just about marketing the sport itself and the excitement of the game. And I'll tell you, from spending time at the China games to see new consumers taking in the game live is just a different animal. And I think if they can continue to do things like the outdoor games and bring them to new markets and show people the speed of the game live, it's just a different way of pushing that envelope. Because we all know being at a game and being live is way different than seeing it on TV. And it's way more exciting.
Definitely. How much of a hurdle do you think it is for the NHL? The fact that the players wear helmets and it's more difficult to see their faces when you compare it to basketball, obviously, and even baseball a little bit. In football, they're wearing helmets too. So it's kind of it's its own thing, but speak to that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a big deal. I mean, most of the face guards are clear, right? So you can actually see them. Whereas, like in football, sometimes you got the dark visors, things of that nature. You have the face mask in the way. Honestly, I think it's really getting to know these athletes on one-way basis, and I think social media helps. I think the advent of social media helps people get to know these guys who spend a little time on social media. I think, some of the marketing that's being done with some of these athletes helps. But every little bit, we can add. And I think that's a large piece of what Upper Deck can do. I mean, we continue to brand Connor, to expose the world to Gretzky and Patrick Waugh, and then the young guys like Alexi and, Quentin Byfield and Shane Wright, being able for us to go out and market their brand and market these athletes and allow people to get a little closer to them is part of our responsibility as licensees as well.
Yeah. Okay. Couple comments here. Purple Haze says Upper Deck forever. Ian says the family legacy over a quick payout is beautiful. Purple Haze also says, Hope Upper Deck is the resistance and never sells out to Fanatics. But then JG makes the comment and says, if Fanatics wants Upper Deck, Fanatics will get Upper Deck. I mean, how do you respond to that comment, or is that just like, yeah, it's just the peanut gallery?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that people said about Panini acquiring Upper Deck for years too. So look, I can't. Everybody's entitled to their thought process and what they think is going to happen. So he's more than happy to think that way. But again, we've been dealing with these rumors basically since the day I took over.
I hear you. Okay, let's talk about Chris Carter's question here. Basically speaking to, the old age kind of tradition of set building and kids in the hobby. So with the market being very hit based and also the importance of value and flipping, which is a big deal now in the hobby. Not that it wasn't before, people have always flipped cards, but what is Upper Deck's, what sort of importance does Upper Deck put on set collecting, and how can that be improved with children and new collectors?
Well, look, set collecting is everything to us. And, we try to make products for all spectrum of the market, including the hit-driven products. But at the end of the day, the collectors are what drives it. Set building, player collecting, that's what drives the industry. Speculating and flipping has been here for quite a while. But the reality is most speculators and flippers are here for the arbitrage opportunity, the opportunity to profit. When the market turns, and it always does, those are the first people out. And what you're left with are the true collectors. So I think one of the things that really is different about the way we've approached the market, basically since I've been here, is that we are very focused on the pure collector. So if you look at our biggest and best product is UD1, UD2, and now Extended, and it's a set-based product. We continue to make O-Pee-Chee, MVP, and some of the technology-driven products are very set-based as well. And honestly, that was part of the thinking behind EPAC, and some of the achievement systems that we put on EPAC was we wanted to teach people to focus on completing sets. So if you look, the gamification, the achievements on EPAC are largely driven around completing sets and set completion. So we are very focused on it. I would say we are the most focused on it because that is the core of the hobby, whether anybody really wants to admit it. It doesn't get the headlines. It's not sexy like $1 million card, but it is the heartbeat of the whole industry.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks. Mike, who owns Eastridge Sports here in Calgary, says, Jason, what do you think of Fanatic's statement that they want to be the place to distribute, sell, grade, and store cards? Do you think that is a conflict of interest?
I think it's a massive conflict of interest.
Do you think it'll happen?
I think they have a plan. They've been vocal about it, and they'll execute it. But it's definitely a huge conflict of interest.
Okay. Jay Hook says, what's Jason's opinion of breaking/breakers in the hobby? Good, bad, or negative? Well,
like some of the other questions, there's a lot to unpack there. I think the good breakers are great for the hobby. They make especially expensive product very accessible to everybody. They get singles into the hands of player collectors very easily. They allow communities to be built in those chat rooms and in those groups. But there's a reason that for us, we concentrate on brick and mortar stores, and we certify brick and mortar stores and concentrate on the breakers who own brick and mortar stores because they're not the scammers. The problem with breaking is that you have to be careful who you're breaking with. And, our feeling has been really supporting the brick and mortar stores because they have an investment, right? They can't afford to scam somebody because at the end of the day, they have to pay their rent. They have to pay their utilities. They need people to come in on a regular basis. So their reputation is everything. And that's where we've really been focused. So I think the reputable breakers are great for the hobby. The scammers are a scourge and honestly could be a huge detriment to the growth of this hobby if too many people get harmed.
Makes sense to me for sure. I'm just trying to see one of the comments here I want to bring up. I couldn't get there quick enough to see whose name this is, but someone on Facebook says, getting back to LCS issues, has Upper Deck spent time monitoring how Canadian distributors move product? We've seen allocations cut on or near release, followed by huge increases within 5 to 7 days.
Well, look, I can't speak to individual orders. What I can speak to is especially during the pandemic, our production on a lot of these products were set well before the pandemic, and orders increased dramatically. So there's a lot of factors there that I just don't know. When were those pre-orders made? When were they cut? What I've seen is a lot of complaints for people trying to reorder or increase their initial order. But I haven't seen anything that I would deem any abuse by our distributors. And quite frankly, again, one of the points of differentiation between Upper Deck and some of our competitors is we only have 5 hobby distributors here in North America. Those guys, again, they have every incentive to treat their shops fair and proper because, it is hard to become a distributor. And if you abuse that, you won't be a distributor. So I don't see the things that are happening here that happen with other sports. Is there a shortage of product on some of these products? 100%. Has demand skyrocketed? 100%. What's happening on an individual store basis? I don't know, honestly.
You can't make everybody happy, as I'm sure you're well aware. So some people say, well, we want our LCS to get more product, but as soon as you do that, they say, well, now you're flooding the market. So you're in a very difficult situation to appease both sides there. Chris Carter, thanks for reminding me. I've always wondered, Jason, why does it still say congratulations on the back of a card when you're guaranteed an autograph or a jersey and something? Can we look at taking that off?
Well, look, I mean, you're not really ever guaranteed anything, right? Like, this is one of the things as a collector that, I still have in my head, and I know the mentality's definitely changed over the years, is when I open a box, and I don't care if it's of Upper Deck product or any of our competitors' product, I don't ever feel like I'm guaranteed anything, quite honestly, because I've had so many boxes over the years, going all the way back to the early 90s when inserts really took hold, that I got skunked on. So I go into every box assuming I'm not guaranteed anything. And I know that's kind of a pessimistic way of viewing it, but I do still feel it's special to get, an autograph or a game used jersey card as prevalent as they are.
Okay, so we're still going to have congratulations on the back.
It's not going away anytime soon.
No. Is there a legal reason that it's on there or anything? Or is it just, is it marketing? Is it just tradition?
I mean, honestly, to me, it's more tradition than anything. I think for us, brand consistency, as you can imagine, is pretty hallmark with us. That's why there's still anti-counterfeit holograms. There's still foil packaging. A lot of the brand tenets are the same. That congratulations has been there since very early on, and we just continue those traditions.
Okay, fair enough. Troy, thank you very much for the contribution, the tip. I appreciate it. Says, great live stream. Thanks, Jason, for taking the time to answer our questions. Hashtag love Upper Deck. Thank you, Troy. Peep says EPAC is genius. What I like about EPAC is that it does allow you to, it allows people who don't have an LCS nearby to access the cards. I mean, that is a good thing for the hobby, I believe.
Well, and honestly, the thought process behind that is when I lived in Bloomington, Indiana, I mean, my closest hobby shop was like an hour and a half away. And even for me, like, the mass retail product wasn't getting it done for me at the time. Like, it didn't scratch the itch of a true hobby product. So part of that genesis was like, how do I get hobby product to consumers when they want it? And again, like, when I want to open a product, I want to open it now. I think breakers have helped tremendously with that. I think EPAC is a second alternative to that. But, I think that is the $1 million question, is how do we get product to people wherever they want to consume, anytime they want to consume?
Yeah. No, makes sense to me for sure. Okay. Steve Sir says, shout out to the OG breakers, Klutz and Chera, and my LCS Grand Slam Sports. It's funny. Breaking has become such a big part of the hobby now, bigger than we ever thought it would. But if you think back to the original breakers, like, I remember, I'm sure you're aware of Klutz and Chera. I remember when they were just starting out. I mean, they were kids at the time. And, and now I don't really keep up with them. I don't know if they're still doing lots of breaking or not, but the term OG, like, to me, that's OG. Like, Chera were one of the original group breakers. Same with Firehand Sports. I can't think of his I can't think of his real name right now. Was a prospect for baseball. Became a breaker, and his name is escaping right now. Do you know who Firehand is?
No, not off the top of my head.
Yeah. Anyway, these were the original breakers, and yeah. Anyway, it's just thanks for the memory there, Steve Sir. Chris Carter says, "What do you think about the current junk slab era? Has it been good, bad, and what should be a reasonable industry price point for collectors to grade a card at? Is grading overhyped?" Now, before you just answer all that, Jason, because there's a lot to unpack on this one too.
Right.
But I want I'd ask you to take the approach of this with like, is it your business? Is it how intertwined is producing cards with what happens to them on the secondary market in terms of grading?
Well, look, I think, grading is a double-edged sword. I think on the positive side, grading gives everybody a comfort level and some sort of standard of what that card is without seeing it. I think one of the issues before grading was, is that an excellent, is that a near mint? Like, what is that? And especially with the advent of eBay, does that picture really represent the card that I'm getting? And, we've all seen, again, scammers who use kind of a weird angle to hide defects in the cards, things of that nature. And I do think grading gives us a third-party way to be objective and try to transact cards kind of at a distance, right? It gives some semblance of, hey, if that's rated a 9, I have a general idea of what that 9 means, right? Yeah. So I do think grading is important in that case. What I think we've seen is that the grading has gotten out of hand in the fact that people are grading everything. Commons, they're grading commons, right? Like, that's not what grading was meant for. And unfortunately, what some of this overhype and over dramatics with all this stuff has put the grading companies in a bad position. They're understaffed. They can't get through the important cards, and the people who have cards that truly need to be graded, that need to be transacted, sent to auction, things of that nature, they can't get them graded now because it has completely got out of hand. And look, I think the junk slab era is probably my favorite term that I've heard over the last 10 years because I think it is representative. I mean, when you're seeing top space rookie cards getting graded on a regular basis, it just doesn't make sense, right? And it's a little bit out of control.
It's kind of funny, though, because they sort of did it to themselves with they being PSA because of the set registry. The set registry incentivizes you to have common cards graded in many sets, right? So, Nat Turner, he said it on this show. He wants to get back to having a bulk level, that $10 to $15 price point for grading those cards. He just needs to build up the capacity, which I think they're working very hard to do. So, I mean, we may be in that temporary sort of phase of the life cycle of grading, where eventually they can get back to that and not have backlog and have to close down services just so they can get through and service their customers have already sent cards in. So interesting topic to discuss with you. Thanks for your insights on that. I want to bring up Pedro's comment here, and thank you to Pedro for the tip. The contribution says, consider making Warhammer 40K cards. The company is Games Workshop, very large international fan base, yours truly included, TCG or Marvel type of set. Is this something that's is Warhammer on the radar?
We've talked to Games Workshop over the years. The Games Workshop is the parent company of Warhammer 40K. We've never been able to kind of find a product that works or a deal that works, but they're a great company and they have a huge fan base for sure.
Yeah. Back to breaking. Ed Seat reminds me it's Chad Redfern. That's who is Firehand Sports. That's right. Facebook users tells me the same thing, which brings me to Irving Manera, who was working with Chad for a while. So Irving is one of the original breakers as well, like an OG group breaker. And I believe Irving just opened up his own card shop. So congratulations to you, Irving. I hope you're carrying some Upper Deck products in your shop. Well, we have Jason on with us tonight. Okay, Jason, I want to just, this question here, basically the gist of this is, are there still going to be retired veterans in products?
So this goes back to one of your first questions, I think when we started talking about running things into the ground. And I think one of the conversations that we've had internally is retired players were in every set, and it just didn't make it special anymore. And I think what we've done is we've tried to concentrate the retired players in products that really make sense. Because honestly, seeing the same retired players year after year in the same inserts and the same parallels is a problem. It is a problem, and it also waters it down. And if, I think one of the pet peeves, if we're all honest about it, is if I'm a Steve Yzerman collector, he's got way more cards from the time he retired than while he played. And that's not fun. I mean, if we're really honest about it, it's not fun. So I think limiting the number of sets that retired players appear in is a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. JG, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Irving wanted to say hello to you as well. Peeps says, please bring back Fleer Ultra. Had to say it. Any plans to bring back Fleer Ultra?
Again, I'm not going to say it's off the table. There have been discussions. I think, for us, we're in a new time and place. There was a time where we'd have our meetings with our shops and our distributors, and we typically do that a couple times a year. We actually meet with the shops and the distributors and the breakers and say, hey, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? There was a time, and the guys will verify this, where they said, don't put out anything related to Fleer. It will inevitably fail every time you do it. So just stop. So we did stop for a period of time. And what we're seeing is that I don't want to say vintage, that retro feel coming back, and people really longing for some of those inserts. So, I think Metal Universe was kind of our first foray in. And, I think you'll continue to see some of those, I would say, retired brands come back, not just Fleer, but some of the old Upper Deck stuff. And you got a preview of that and extended.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. And I mean, I've been lobbying for this for a long time. I mean, talking to brand managers at Upper Deck, and I've said, listen, you guys are missing the boat if you're not bringing back Fleer. I don't care what the distributors are telling you. The hobby wants Fleer right now. And I think
Jeremy, there's this weird romance about Hot Prospects. Hot Prospects was a fantastic closeout, but when it was selling around the price that it was intended to be, nobody wanted it. So if you go back at some of the Fleer products that we produced during my tenure, like when the stuff was priced the way the hobby shops need to price it to make money, they couldn't sell it. It was only when they closed it out that people loved it. So really the history of the Fleer brand in hockey since Upper Deck took it over wasn't good. I do think the times have changed. So I think we're reevaluating everything now. But, again, there are certain brands that we put out over the years that people kind of have romanticized and really like once it became a closeout. And again, we're living in an era where nothing's closed out anymore. So it's different. But there was a period of time where, some of people's favorite brands were favorite brands because they got them at a heavily reduced price, and the card shops lost a lot of money on them.
Yeah, I guess it just comes down. And I mean, I say this, with ignorance because I don't know the ins and outs, but it comes down to just sort of doing it right. Hot Prospects didn't work, so let's back to the drawing board. But even putting the Fleer name on things, I think at this right now in like 2021, the timing is ripe. So
and again, Jeremy, it's a good conversation, right? Because again, everybody has short memories. Fleer Retro and Fleer Showcase, early in the teens there was not received well at all, right? Like I know everybody's chasing those cards now, but when those products came out, nobody wanted them. So again, like people's memory is kind of short, but that's kind of what we're up against. So, again, things have changed.
They have changed. I hear what you're saying on that. And I would just rebut it by saying that, but now people want it, right? Now you can't get Fleer Retro. I mean, you might've been able to a year and a half ago buy a box of Fleer Retro if you could find it for $150. Now it's like probably $1,200 if you could find one on the secondary market. So like you said, though, times have changed. And I think you guys showed great, foresight or just progress by bringing on Jean McLeod from Arena Designs and announcing that at the National back in August. I mean, that was very exciting news for, it's funny. I felt fortunate twice now to be I collect all the sports, Jason, but hockey's my number one. And I felt fortunate about that for two things recently. Number one, well, and your announcements. Number one, Jean McLeod coming on and designing Fleer products, or Upper Deck products, hopefully under the Fleer banner and Skybox banner. But also the license renewal. I mean, you know, I like Upper Deck cards, so I want to see that stick around. So speaking about Jean McLeod, and if anybody out there doesn't know, Jean McLeod is a lady who worked for a company called Arena Designs, and in the 90s, she was hired by Fleer and Skybox to design the iconic sets and inserts that we all chase today, like Precious Metal Gems was hers, Jambalaya was hers, Platinum Portraits was hers, etc. Essential Credentials was hers. All these things that we all want to chase now. Jason, tell us a little bit about the decision to kind of bring Jean back on now, 25 years since she's designed a card, and why was that important for Upper Deck?
Well, you know, again, we talk about the internal competition and the ability to evolve among ourselves here at Upper Deck. And look, we've put out some Fleer products. We put out a ton of them in Marvel because the Skybox and Fleer brands are so iconic in the Marvel space. We've kind of rehashed some of the old designs. We've done our own, but you know, our feeling was if we were going to take it to the next level, like, why not go back and get the authors of the iconic designs of all time, the original designs? And look, we were fortunate that they were available. Jean and her husband do a wonderful job. We brought them into the fold. You know, they're working for us on an exclusive basis. And we're really looking forward to seeing the designs. And I'll be honest, I mean, the Metal Universe Champion designs are some of the best designs I've seen in my time here at Upper Deck. They're absolutely stunning. I think people are going to be blown away when they collect that set. And we're looking forward to see what they can do, not only with Fleer, but maybe some Upper Deck brands as well. We have some brands that could use a facelift or some energy, and they're going to bring it to us. So we're pumped.
Awesome. That's great. Card Art wants to know if you could, him and his son are collecting, I assume him and his son are collecting precious metal gems or precious metal hockey or just metal hockey. But my son asks to go to the LCS as he's building the set. What's one unique aspect or fun anecdote about the set that he would find interesting? Is there anything you can think of sharing that Card Art could share with his son?
Well, you know, I don't know that I have any good detail on the details of the set itself. You know, that's really the product team that gets into it. The anecdote probably for this group that you guys will find funny is originally Metal Universe started out as base Fleer, and then it evolved to Skybox Premium and ended up as Metal Universe when everything was said and done. So it actually didn't start here as Metal Universe, but it was a group of us kind of debating about how to bring Fleer back to the Upper Deck portfolio for hockey, and it took a little bit of a jagged journey.
Okay, well, I'm glad it landed where it did. So that's good. That's good stuff. Rage, glad to have you. Welcome to the show. And UD Rep. This is the president of Upper Deck, Rage, Jason Masherah. Okay, Al, thank you for the update. Flames up 1-0. Maybe we can win 6 in a row. That would be pretty amazing, actually. Daniel Busby, is there a chance to ever release all-time greats again?
You know, possibly at some point, but it's not on the calendar for any time soon.
Okay, thank you. And then Billy Celio, you might know him, says, Jason, how did you like that Michigan State football game today?
Oh, I loved it. I've got no complaints. I mean, typically as a Michigan State alum, you're used to Michigan State beating Michigan when they're 4-3 or 2-5. Like, we're not used to them going into that meeting where both teams are undefeated and actually beating Michigan. So it's a nice change of pace for sure.
Okay, there you go, Billy. And just on the topic of Billy, Chris Carter says, Jason, Billy needs to win Employee of the Year and get a raise. So Billy's got some friends out there. Hello to Costa. Welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you. Troy says, agree with bringing back Fleer. Some of my favorite Eiserman PC cards are Fleer. Very nice, very nice. There's some talk about CHL products in their future. AJ15 loves the CHL products. Costa says the AHL cards look like CHL cards this year. Love it. Is there anything you want to share about the CHL cards this year?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the CHL is, for the most part, they were shut down last year, and a lot of those prospects went to the AHL. So if you're wondering why the AHL kind of looks like a CHL set, it's because a lot of the prospects couldn't skate in the CHL and they went to the AHL. So the AHL set this year is loaded, and the CHL set we didn't have content for because the league was shut down, and most importantly, the OHL, right, was shut down. So it was a problem for us.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to bring up this Chris Carter again. These sort of detailed product questions. I don't know if they're your wheelhouse, but we'll put them out there. Have you considered expanding beyond exclusives out of 100, high gloss out of 10, and doing out of 5 and a 1 of 1 for basically he's talking about Young Guns in Series 1, Series 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for us with UD, and again, yeah, I'm not the right guy for the product details, but from a philosophical standpoint, the Young Guns in particular, plus the base set, have enough parallels. Like we've really, expanded it probably more than we're even comfortable with, which I'm sure seems odd compared to some of the brands in the different sports and the number of parallels. We want to make sure, especially with the Young Guns, that we're not creating too many versions of the Young Guns. And it's a dilemma that we have every year. And I know that Billy and the team all debate it on a regular basis of adding something fresh and new. But there's a reason why the exclusives and the high gloss, have the value that they have. And, I think it's always the team always wants to side on the error of protecting those values versus kind of watering it down. But it's hard. I mean, we debate that probably every single year.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm happy with where it is myself. I agree with you. There is a balance there. You need a certain amount for chase and for exclusivity, but once you get to too many, it just becomes redundant and watered down in my personal opinion. Matt wants to know, have you looked at any overseas sports such as cricket or Australian rules football?
We have. I've been blessed to spend some time in Australia and go to some AFL games. I mean, we look at all of that stuff. I think like the other manufacturers, the online platforms give us an ability to, maybe look at some licenses we couldn't before because, in Australia in particular, there's hardly any card shops. The price of rent is too expensive for LCSs for the most part in Australia. There's a couple, but not like there was back in the 80s and 90s. The same in Europe. There's not a lot of card shops. A lot of cards are sold through kiosks and things of that nature. South America, there's nothing there as well. So, we're always looking, we're always evaluating. We're always going to have some fun licenses to kind of throw at you guys, and you'll see some stuff crop up along the way.
That's cool. Okay, great. Card Art says, are there Gretzky game-used Oilers in the archives, like swatches and that, I guess? And will we ever see a Wayne Gretzky Oilers patch auto again in a new Upper Deck product?
I mean, just thinking about it off the top of my head, I don't know if there is or not. Again, I'm not that close to know whether there's anything kind of in the inventory database. I know Oilers legitimate, like game-used, authentic game-used Gretzky jerseys are super rare. So I don't think we've bought one in quite some time. Whether we have any in inventory, I have no idea.
Thank you for the open answer. And Costa, we did talk about this before, but just to confirm again, Upper Deck will be inserting the canceled ice cards in future products.
Again, the team hasn't decided exactly what they're going to do, and they haven't announced anything. But our big concern is making sure there's continuity. So you will see there will be some delivery mechanism that will be announced in the future that will allow there to be continuity and not a missing year.
And that's what I meant. We're going to have continuity. I like how you put it, a delivery mechanism. So yes, Costa, there is a delivery mechanism that will be that will come to fruition here. So great stuff. Okay. We're at the bottom of the comments. That's great. We're over 2 hours, Jason. It's flown by for me. I hope you've enjoyed this, despite maybe a couple of challenging questions along the way. Before we wrap up, I want to ask NFTs. I always say this is a sports card channel. I'm a sports card collector, but NFTs are something that are on the people's minds. And even with that, with Mark Zuckerberg's presentation the day before yesterday, with the metaverse and everything going on there, it seems to almost be taking on even more life now. Let me ask you this: how far along in the development of the NFT strategy are you guys?
Well, we're very far along, and quite frankly, the NFT conversation has definitely changed over the last 9 months or so. So when NFTs first hit, the whole purpose was they were supposed to be attached to a public blockchain. That's completely gone away. Pretty much every NFT you see now is on a private system, which is really scary because that means that either that system can go away or the license can go away at some point. So the way the NFTs are described now, we've actually been doing NFT since 2011. So I would actually say we're the innovator in the space. We've been doing digital trading cards and physical equivalents since 2011 with a program that we launched with Dynamics based on credit card rewards back in 2011. The only difference between what we do on ePack and what everybody touts on NFTs is that they, A, publish the chain of history of the card, and B, they allow people to buy and sell them on the platform, which we don't do on ePack. But as you know, on ePack, every card has a unique identifier and a unique ownership, just like an NFT. So, we kind of laugh to ourselves because we've been on the forefront of what is being, marketed as NFTs out there since 2011. What I think the big difference from where we're going with NFTs versus what we're doing with ePack now is that generally the NFT collector is digital only. The big thing with ePack is that we have physical equivalents, and you hear people saying physical to digital, but they don't really know what that means. ePack is physical to digital. It exists in both realms at the same time. What we've seen is that there is a fan base and a collector base that wants to collect purely digital, and that's what we will be delivering in the Evolution platform when that launches. And we've had this plan for a while now. Like everything else right now, it takes a little longer to launch it and launch it right. For us, we don't need to be first. We just need to be best. And that's where we're kind of concentrated on. So we're pretty deep in it at this point.
Okay, good to know. Appreciate that, and looking forward to see how it. Like right now, I'm just not informed enough on NFTs to really contribute anything of substance. So, but I'll want to learn about it as things happen. Waxel says, Jason, the sharpest dressed guest on SCL. Thanks for the interview. Thank you. Wow, yeah. Usually everyone's wearing hoodies on this show for some reason. I'm just kidding. Chris Carter says, I'm very impressed with Jason's responses. Thank you for your work, and especially the team behind you who do such a great job at Upper Deck. Goes on to ask me, any after hours tonight? Just everybody watching who's used to after hours. I don't have an after hours episode scheduled right now, but I was thinking, I've been spending a couple of hours the last few nights pricing cards for the Expo and the Vancouver show. So maybe I can come back live when Jason and I wrap up here a few minutes later and show you guys what I plan on selling at the Expo. Maybe that's something I can do. If you're interested, let me know if that would have any interest from the audience. Cardboard Casino, this did come up already. So Jason, do you want to just quickly summarize what your answer was, or I can ask him to rewind?
Yeah, I don't want to go back into it again, quite honestly.
No problem.
Jason, sorry, Cardboard Casino.
So that's okay. We did cover a Cardboard Casino, so feel free to replay in two times the speed to save you some time. Skeppy says, amazing interview. Jason knows his stuff and what you'd expect from a hands-on CEO. Thank you for that comment, Skeppy. Joe Perot says, a robust and informative show. Thanks, Jason. Your commitment to the culture of UD is commendable. And after hours, ask me anything tonight. Yeah, we could do something like that. Card Art, you are welcome. Says thanks to you too, Jason. Impressive responses and transparency. Upper Deck, present and future are strong. Okay, that's the end of the comments, guys. We are going to Jason. We're going to wrap this up. Before we do, any final comments, questions, anything message you want to send to the audience?
Yeah, I would just reiterate. We're very focused on the collector, the card shop. More than anything else, again, I think that's a lot of the messaging and the news that we've seen over the last 9 months in the hobby, unfortunately, isn't speaking to that. That is our focus. We continue to be focused that. And this team that we have here is incredible. I'm not responsible for anything. This team is the best team in the industry. And you guys get a chance to see them on this podcast on a regular basis. I mean, you guys know what we're dealing with, and it's the reason our deals got renewed is the incredible team here at Upper Deck.
Yeah, congratulations. And it's just for me and for Sports Cards Live, we've now had the president, we've had the vice president, Mike Phillips, we've had Grant Sandground, we've had Tony Soriano, we've had Billy several times, good friend of mine. So, Chris Carlin's been on several times. Who's next, Jason? Who should I invite on next? Put you on the spot.
I think there's a lot of interesting people that you could bring on here. Paul Zickler heads up our sports division on the brand side. He'd be great. Gabriel Garcia, who heads up our authenticated memorabilia and actually spent some time on the card side as well, so he knows both sides of the business. I think he'd be a fantastic guest. There are just so many incredible people here that do such a great job that, I mean, you could probably fill out the rest of the shows for the end of the year.
Good to know. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Steve, sir, appreciate your comments. Daniel says we must have a closing show. Okay. We can definitely think about that. So guys, before we end this, and this always happens, Jason, where we got the final comments coming through, but I like to address them because they're complimentary for both you and myself. Great show. Thanks, Jeremy and Jason. Upper Deck is the best. Nice comment, Troy. Thank you for that. Hits and Chicks says Upper Deck is king. Thank you, Hits and Chicks. Criminal Minds loves to stir up trouble. Always great to have you, Criminal Minds. Studio Sports says, thanks, Jason. The loyal UD followers are grateful this session. Okay. So for anyone who wants, I'll go live again here in about 10 minutes on the channel, and maybe just do an open session if you want to ask questions. Happy to just have some conversations, show some cards that I will have at the expo for sale. That's it. We're going to end this. Jason, again, thank you to you for joining, your transparency. Really appreciate it. And I guess that's it. We're done. Hang tight right there. Everybody else, tomorrow on Collectible Live, I got Buster Share with me. So that's going to be a pretty fun episode. I can't wait to do that one. And if you want to see more of this face right here, I'll come back in a few minutes on the show. Bobby Burrell, thanks for joining. Good to have you. Thanks for the comment. Okay, that's it. This is over. Jason, hang tight.
All right.